crazy. All right, folks, how you doing? I'm Tim Black. You tuned in to Tim's Take Live. Man, I was up until the very wee hours of the morning. In fact, I uploaded a video probably around 2 o'clock a.m. Right? That's because information that came out about the autopsy of the independent consultant, which was Dr. Baden. And Dr. Baden, he gave us information about the condition of the corpse of Mike Brown. You know, the body. So, hey, I had to do that video. Well, shortly after uploading my video, someone contacted me, or they made a post on my channel, and they said, I think his name was Abel Ferguson. Abel said, hey, somebody else just put out a video, Tim. And lo and behold, it was Stefan Molyneux. You know, the con artist, the manipulator. Stefan. The name of his video was The Truth About Mike Brown. Oh, and the Ferguson riots. I had a problem right off the bat after seeing the title because I noticed for a libertarian, which is what Stefan says he is, it was kind of ironic that he would call the protesters rioters. No, there were protesters who protested peacefully, and then you had rioters and looters. These are separate people. In fact, when Mike Brown died, which was Saturday afternoon, there was protesting, peaceful protesting for a long time until Sunday night when there started to be violence, okay? Which was only in pockets. So let's get that right. But, hey, man, don't worry yourself with facts like that, Stefan, because we know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get people to condemn Mike Brown, and you want to side with the state. Fine. At least you could do is be honest about it. I will give Stefan credit a little bit because the guy did say, hey, look, guys, everything I'm about to say is speculation. But for some reason, the majority of people who watch Stefan, they don't take his words as speculation. Nah, they take them as facts. Even though what he does is he takes details, throws them against the wall, and tries to manipulate them and use them to build a narrative that suits his desired outcome. That's not fact-finding. That's not philosophy. That's bullshitting. He then goes on to finally get to weed usage. You know, he wants to demonize Mike Brown because they're saying that's why he got the blunts, because he's a bad weed smoker. He likes smoking marijuana. Hey, look, Stefan, I know you're Canadian, all right? But see, here in the States, more of us are for the legalization of marijuana than against it. So that really doesn't dissuade us that much in supporting Mike Brown. You know, the fact that he may have smoked weed, it's not that bad of a thing. At least not to us, maybe to you. A guy who spent a long amount of time on this video talking about blunts and how blunts are made and how you roll the blunt and all this stuff. What does that have to do with Mike Brown getting shot in the head? What does that have to do with Mike Brown getting shot 6 times? What does that have to do with a cop pulling him over for jaywalking? Don't you know, haven't we said repeatedly, didn't the chief say that Officer Wilson didn't even know anything about the theft when he pulled over Mike Brown for jaywalking? Why don't you bring that fact up? Why? Doesn't fit your narrative, does it, buddy? All right. The next thing that Stefan wants to focus in on is rap lyrics. See, in this case, Stefan didn't have any information, you know, a rap sheet of Mike Brown, anything to go on. So instead, he goes up on SoundCloud and looks at some songs that Mike Brown wrote. And he starts demonizing Mike Brown based on song lyrics. One of the funniest parts of the video, if there's any funny parts, is Stefan Molyneux trying to repeat rap lyrics. Say words like nigga. Hilarious shit, prick. Look, man, I have a problem with these guys who like to condemn rap. But the same guys will not condemn, I don't know, movie screenwriters. Because that's really what rappers are doing. They're painting pictures with words. I'm not saying all of it is art, but come on, man. You wouldn't talk about Brian De Palma's writing of Scarface and say he's violent, of low character because he wrote it. You wouldn't say that about Quentin Tarantino's writing Pulp Fiction. You wouldn't say that about Francis Ford Coppola's writing of Godfather 2. No, you only reserve looking over someone's creative work and then saying that's who they are as an individual for black kids or black youth or black young people or black males specifically. Why is that, Stefan? And why don't your viewers see through the BS? Another thing I didn't like about this video that Stefan made, my bad, is how he kept going back and forth talking about Trayvon Martin. Dude, if I brought up Trayvon Martin in this situation, you would say I was race baiting. But why is it that Stefan gets to bring up parallels between Trayvon Martin in this case, and for some reason, it's just him being philosophical? Ah, man, you're not philosophical, you're a jackass. This is a different case. I would like to treat it as such. The other thing I didn't like, and this is probably the thing that really bothered me, was your depiction of Darren Wilson. You know, Officer Darren Wilson, who you really should have talked about at least to a certain degree because, hey, man, he is the one who shot Mike Brown. I mean, Mike Brown did not shoot the officer. Why didn't you bring up the fact that Darren Wilson lost his mother at age 16? This had to be a very traumatic thing for Mr. Wilson, who bounced from home to home, address to address. I mean, that information is all on the internet. Why didn't you bring that up? I'm sure you would have brought up if Mike Brown's mother had passed away. But no mention by Stefan. Once again, it doesn't fit his narrative, so he won't talk about it. Why didn't you bring up the fact that Darren Wilson, there's a woman on the internet now, she was interviewed by Don Lemon, CNN, who says that Darren Wilson poured her over and treated her very badly. She says it stuck in her head that his name was Darren Wilson because it was that bad. She kept thinking, I hope he gets what's coming to him because he treated me like shit. I know you saw that video. All you had to do was Google it. And since you consider yourself an expert researcher, why didn't you research that? But once again, that doesn't fit your narrative, does it? Nah. Stefan only talks about things that build up his case. Oh, and probably one of the things I found most repulsive about your story, Stefan, is the whole fact you left out about Darren Wilson being divorced recently. What about that? Why didn't you talk about that? I mean, getting divorced is a traumatic thing. It was just last year the guy got divorced. Why didn't you bring that up? I mean, if you're going to bring up rap lyrics and that the guy smoked weed, how about you bring up that his shooter recently had a divorce? Was it a messy divorce? I mean, since we are talking about speculation. Or the fact that now Darren Wilson's living with a new girlfriend who happens to be a police officer. He just moved in with her. Right after the divorce, he moved in with another woman. You don't talk about the character of a man that would do such a thing. Nah. Of course, because it's all speculation. Doesn't mean anything, right? Neither does a kid writing rap lyrics on a website. Neither does a kid smoking weed make him instantly a bad person. But hey, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Stefan only talks about things that fit his narrative. And I'm tired of people actually making Stefan seem credible when he's not. He don't present facts on both sides and step back and let you make your opinion up. No, he makes an opinion for you. He states a premise and then he presents you things that support his premise. Then he wants to condescend to the black community, telling them what they need to do. Who does this guy think he is, man? He's not a philosopher, he's a white supremacist. And that's who he's playing to. His white supremacist audience. His very white audience who buy into that BS. That's the narrative they want. So that's what he gives them. And I understand it, but don't pass it off like you're being equal, you're being fair or balanced. Tell the truth. You're doing it for money, and that's cool. You're a businessman. Admit it. See, I'll sit here right now and say I don't know exactly what happened with Darren Wilson. I'm not going to sit here and say I know exactly what happened with Mike Brown. I will say this. It's not impossible for a man to get shot in his arms with his arms up, with his hands up. And it's not ironic or that you didn't bring up the fact that he was shot in his face and shot in the top of his head. How did that happen? I mean, the coroner said that Mr. Brown, that was his fatal wound, the shot to the top of the skull. So he was already shot 4 or 5 times. Now you want us to believe that he was so high on weed that he didn't realize he had been shot. So he charges the cop with no weapon from a distance. Some people are speculating Mike Brown was 30, 35 feet away from the officer, who was afraid for his life. Ah! So he had to shoot him in the head, put him down, you know. I think that Stefan, this man, does a disservice to every libertarian out there. I don't like the fact that he sticks up for the police and doesn't stick up for the people. I mean, we all know that there were protests, peaceful protests in Ferguson way before there was any violence. But he doesn't mention that. He jumps right to the violence, he jumps right to the looting, and he stays there because it supports his narrative that this is all black people's problems. This is a black people's fault. The community, black people, are wrong and they need to get their shit together. Which is just what Republicans think. That's what they spew. It's a conservative talking point. You're not a libertarian, Stefan. You're a conservative Republican. Admit it. To you, the reporters aren't truth finders. They're terrorists. To you, the protesters, the peaceful protesters, are also terrorists. And those are the people you are against. And I don't know why a libertarian would do such. You should have spent a little bit more time finding some facts and giving us those facts instead of talking about what blunts do or what you can do with a blunt or how to roll a blunt and rap lyrics. That would have been nice. Look, I will give Stefan this. He said in the beginning that his video was speculation. True, I agree. It was speculation. He also said that everything that he said should be taken with a grain of salt. I disagree with you there, Stefan. Not a grain of salt. How about a canister of salt? Because I think you're full of shit.